All right, what is up, Utes fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest. And what a game last night, huh? 34-13 win over Arizona State. Good to be back talking to you guys. Please, as you guys jump into the video, please make sure you like it. Comment in the chat. Seriously, just say hi. Glad to know you guys are here. And also, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. It goes a long way, and it lets me know you guys appreciate the content. But outside of that, guys, so what a game last night, huh? So 34-13. I think there's a lot to look at in that game where the Utes played the Sun Devils. You know, we went into Tempe. They had the home field advantage, and we looked pretty dominant. One question just to get out of the way right off the bat is Tavion Thomas. I think a lot of people were wondering where Tavion Thomas was, and I wasn't aware until earlier that day. I'm not going to say who told me, but I guess the issue is it was some disciplinary issues that Tavion was, having a little bit of attitude problems for lack of, and this is not well confirmed by me. It's just what I've heard, but I would say I heard it from a pretty good source, and it does feel pretty reliable. So it sounds like that was the case, that Tavion broke some of the, inner team rules, and so they benched him for the first half. Supposedly at first he could have been benched for the whole game, but then they decided to put him in the second half. But that's what I know about that. The other big guy is going to be, let me put him up here, Brent Keithy. I'm sure you guys are wondering what's going on with him. With Brent Keithy, super talented guy. Sad to see he gets injured. He goes down. Not sure what's going on there. I'm not sure if that's going to be, if he'll be back this season. It does seem like the context and kind of what I'm pulling from the situation is this is probably season ending, which really sucks. Brent Keithy's right up. He's probably the best player on this team, one of the best players in the country. And really sad to see that guy go down. So I just wanted to touch on those two things before we dive in. There's still a lot of good to look at. It's very sad that Brent Keithy's out for the year, most likely. And then it sounds like Tavion's having some personal problems. But outside of that, a lot of good to take away from that game. So let me go ahead and share the stats on the screen with you guys so we could all look at it together. All right. Yeah. All right. Here we go. So last night, Utah versus Arizona State. So Tavion Thomas, 11 carries for 60 yards. Jalen Glover, 13 carries for 48 yards. And, as much as if there were attitude problems, they had to be addressed with Tavion, right? You can't just let that stuff go by. As a guy that does manage, a floor, manage like a sales floor of quite a bit of people, one really bad person can really affect the whole floor a lot. And the link is in the chat if you guys want to hop on and talk some Utes football. And it does look like we have Big Sill. I think that's Big Sill. What's up, man? How are you?
What's up, man? Hey,
good to have you on.
Good. Yeah, I've been watching your shows a lot. I originally go by Lanky Boy, but
I know. I noticed your face. I recognize it.
Yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to hop on here for a minute and talk about the game. I noticed that a lot of I noticed that we're getting our receivers involved, which is nice.
Yeah, I feel like it was like 10 catches. We can look it up right here. I'll pull it up on the screen. It was a really good showing. So how many is it? So just from receivers, let's look here. So 6 catches for Bailey. Damn, that's a lot. Yeah, that's 10 catches right there, just between Enos, Parks, and Bailey. So yeah, definitely got the receivers involved.
I'm glad we did that because, I mean, yes, it sucks that Keithy went down, but
Yeah.
Kincaid, he balled out, and that, I mean, and then Yasmin came in and took
Yeah,
over for
one
Keithy.
catch for
That
72 yards. Jeez,
Yeah,
dude.
and all those tackles he broke, I was like, wow, yeah, I mean, he almost scored there. So I mean, the depth at tight end is really good, and I just think that if we continue this trend, we could be pretty explosive down the line. So
Yeah, Yasmin, I don't know if you remember, he got in against SUU as well, and he had a couple
hmm
big catches there. So I actually feel pretty good. Obviously, like I just said a minute ago, Keithy's probably the best player on this team. So
yeah,
it's hard to replace him, but definitely Yasmin looks like he'd be a starting tight end basically anywhere else in the country. So that's a good sign.
yeah, yeah, that was yeah. I just yeah, sorry, I'm kind of losing a track on my mind of what I was gonna say, but
You're good.
yeah, yeah, it was a pretty good game. I thought we could have utilized the wide receivers a little bit more. I know, I know that Kincaid was the main point of the game because of those two
Yeah.
touchdowns, but I just felt like if we would have threw the ball more to I don't know, Enos or Parks, then it it could have been bigger than it was, even though I am pretty happy with the outcome. But it just felt like whenever we were looking towards them, it's like there would be one open, but then he it would be too late because Cam Rising would have to scramble
Yeah.
without getting sacked. So, but yeah, I mean overall it was a good game, but yeah, so
So, yeah, for me, honestly, dude, I was a little disappointed in Enos last night. I liked how he looked the week prior, but there were two drops, and one of the drops was an interception. I was a little
oh yeah.
disappointed, and I guess I kind of come off as a bit of a hater. I've been thoroughly unimpressed with the guy over a large sample size, and I obviously wish nothing but the best for him, right? I want him to go kill it, but at the same time, it's like damn, dude, how are you? And a lot of people I saw on Twitter were talking about how that was a bad throw from Rising. I don't know, dude.
Mhm.
When you have to barely put your arms out and we're
Yeah,
calling that a bad throw, I mean
yeah,
that's a little much for me. It's like, no, dude, catch the ball, right?
yeah. I
But
mean,
Jalen
yeah,
Dixon and Money Parks, those two are looking fantastic. I really hope we get them more involved as the season goes on.
yeah. The only one more thing, the only one guy the one guy I really want to see get more involved, and I know he's I know there's tons of wide receivers ahead of him, but it's Sydney Ambassador.
And
I think that's how
Banasaur,
he's Ambassador. Yeah,
yeah,
he's just been super super super. Um, he was super good through fall camp, and it just feels like
yeah,
that one video of him mossing the defender in practice. But yeah, I just feel like if you get those big targets involved, you're going to be unstoppable. I mean, look at USC. The reason they're so successful over the years is because they're getting all their. I know our main focal point is always going to be the tight ends, but I feel like we can be more explosive if we throw the ball more. And I,
yeah,
I,
for
I get
sure.
I get that it's like we're trying to balance out the offense with the running game and whatnot, but it just feels like you need to, you know, I I'm glad we're spreading the ball around, but it just feels like the four vertical would be nice. Four vertical down the field, four vertical go deep. It just I'm not saying you got to do that all the time, but I'm just saying I'm
Test
liking what
them.
I yeah test them,
Yeah,
test the defense, and also when you test the defense, make sure it's when they're on their heels, not like every time. Like make sure you give them a couple of different looks and stuff, you know. So that's just me. I mean, I've always, you know, I've been one of those. I'm not hating on my team or anything, but I'm one of those people who is just like, you need to throw the ball. I mean, I'm not saying we didn't throw the
Yeah.
ball. Like we did throw the ball a lot, but it's just like in the big games down the line, like Oregon or USC, it just feels like we're gonna need to do that, you know, in order to keep up with their tempo and keep up, you know, keep them on their heels. So it just seems like we, you know, but yeah, it was a good win though. I just you know, so
Hey,
but
well, Leggy boy, thank you so much for coming on, man. I'm gonna drop you off now, but hey, such a
yeah,
pleasure actually meeting you, and please do come on again, man. Pleasure talking to you today.
yeah, you too. See
All right, guys. Yeah, and a lot of great points there by Lanky Boy. We've got a lot of explosive teams. I think that's another point that needs to be brought up is how good the Pac-12 is looking right now. Let's I don't think the AP rankings have come out yet. But the Pac-12 just looks damn good. Like think about it that Oregon State, the way they looked against USC last night, I know that was at home, but damn, that was an intimidating team. Like as I sorry, I'm just trying to find the Pac-12 rankings. Where is it? Okay. Where are we? Okay. So Pac-12 rankings. I'm actually going to put this on the screen for a second just so we can chat about it a little bit. And if anyone else does have any interest in coming on and chatting a little bit, I'll put the link again in the chat. Feel free, guys. Just come on with a decent internet connection and let's talk a little bit of Utes football. I love hearing what you guys have to say. And if you're not comfortable jumping on the camera, feel free to just comment in the chat, guys. More than happy to talk to you guys. Connor says Utah's strength of schedule looking a lot tougher than it did going into the season. Exactly. That's what I'm about to talk about, Connor. I'm with you. And I think it's the first time I've seen you in here, Connor. So welcome in, man. Good to have you. Let me go ahead and put the Pac-12 on the screen. So when you look at this, Kyle says, I don't think it's a given Utah goes to the championship game. The Pac is tough. I think what I learned yesterday and over the past week or two, we could be looking at a Pac-12 champion with two, maybe three losses. Maybe not three, but like the Pac-12 champion definitely could have two losses this year in Pac-12 play. Like this is the Pac-12 right now looks nasty, dude. Look at this list. Let's kind of go down it. So Colorado, an absolute dumpster fire, just an embarrassment of a team. Obviously, I'm kind of, knock on wood. I hope they don't beat us or anything, but Colorado looks straight terrible. I'd go so far as to say they're the Arizona of our conference last year. P Dodd says Keithy out for the season. Keithy, P Dodd, there is no update on that as far as I'm aware. I looked into it, but it does seem I watched a press conference with Kyle Whittingham this morning, and I was looking it up. It does seem like they are foreshadowing that that's about to be announced. He's being looked at today, but from the vibe I'm getting, I mean, I'm thinking at minimum it feels like he's out until and towards the end of the season. And worst case, he's out for we're not going to see him the rest of the year. So best case, hopefully we get him. It's 6 to 8 games from now. Kyle says Washington has the easiest path, misses both Utah and SC this year. Yeah, actually, Kyle, you know what? I'm gonna stop you there. I think USC has the easiest path. I've looked at their schedule after Oregon State. I mean, it's really it looks like we're the ones. So anyway, so the next team here, so Arizona, doesn't look great. Let's so Arizona, did they win yesterday? No, they lost to Cal. So I think Arizona is 2-2, if I'm correct. Yeah, they're 2-2 with the loss against Mississippi State and Cal. And I'd say they're definitely still a lower end team in our conference, but they're not like terrible. You know what I mean? They're one of those like any given Saturday type of teams. Look decent. Chief Watts, I kind of commented on this earlier. From what I understand, is there was some Tavion might have broken some rules or had some disciplinary problems that had him sitting in the first half. I found this out like shortly before the game yesterday. I didn't want to talk too much about it because I wanted to, actually see it on the field, see if that was the case. But yeah, it looks like that's why he sat out the first half. And if that's the case, I mean, that's an important thing to do, especially in these games where we know that we're probably a significantly better team with or without Tavion, right? And so, like, when you know that going into the game, it's probably a good idea to take that opportunity to teach someone a lesson if they really are having problems, getting along with everyone. Arizona State doesn't look great, doesn't look terrible like a lot of people are making them out to be. I thought they looked not good. They looked definitely disorganized and sloppy last night. And I'll just kind of break down the Pac-12, but then after that, we'll talk about the game last night. USC looks really good. I think last night it kind of felt like they looked a little more human than they have previously, right? They looked a little more like, oh yeah, they could be beat for sure. And I'm not saying they didn't look like that before. I kind of felt that way before, but I feel like last night, like Oregon State's a good team, but they're not like a great team. So I felt pretty good that USC, it felt like, what's the term? It's like you know, you've seen them bleed, like they can bleed, right? So, if you can get them if they can bleed, whatever that expression is. You guys know what I'm talking about. UCLA doesn't. They had a lot of hype going into the season, but they really don't look that good. But to tell the truth, like I mean, for a team to not look that good and they're still 4-0. I mean, they put the beat down on Colorado. So that who knows what's going to happen there. Jackson. So I would say for like UCLA to look like one of the lower middle teams in the pack or like middle teams and to be 4-0, that's it's kind of a scary sign. Kyle says Jackson looked great at running back. Happy to see him get some playing time. Yeah, and you know what I heard from Kyle this morning is that Jackson is making the move to running back from here on. That wasn't just a temporary thing. Jaquindon Jackson is going to be playing running back. That's pretty wild. Uh, DJ and Tay says Oregon State gave the roadmap to beat USC. I really feel like Oregon should have won that game. They just couldn't do it on offense. Their defense looked awesome though, and that kind of makes me a little nervous going into next week. They looked really good. They beat us last year. They're so similar to what we do, like they really are. They want to just out physical you. They just want to beat you in physicality. P Dodd said, "Does it look like Utah is playing conservative?" I actually didn't feel that way last night, P Dodd. I feel like there was a lot of creative play calling. Like, don't forget about that little, end around, flea flicker type of thing at the beginning of the game and that big shot to Kincaid. So I wouldn't say that we look conservative. I feel like we're starting to open it up a little. And one other thing to comment on that, P Dodd, is don't forget that a lot of the time you want to keep your playbook kind of conservative until you have to play teams where that's not the case, if that makes sense. So it's like, yeah, a lot of time at the beginning of the year, you're just trying to, get through the games. But then when you play really good teams, you want to have those in your back pocket for when you need to make big plays happen and make wild things happen. Capisi says hype for Yasmin. Yeah, man, he looked good. He looked good against SUU too. I remember talking about him. So definitely. Jimmy says Yasmin was a beast on that big play. Yeah, dude. No one was bringing him down. He looks big, bro. He looks and like athletic, like a big athletic guy. I'm excited to see kind of how he fills in for Keithy. Sad Keithy's out, but definitely excited to see him. Kyle says, I feel like they played more conservative after Keithy got hurt. So, Kyle, my thought on this is that they felt like they had the game. That's kind of how I felt last night. It was like, okay, like we got through the first half. It feels like we're clearly the better team. If we need to, we can go score. We want to run the ball. We want to drain the clock. That's kind of how I felt that game went. I felt like 34-13 really doesn't explain how much of a better team we were compared to them. It was really, we were trying to just get out of there, keep everybody else healthy. And yeah, maybe Keithy played a role in us trying to drain the clock a little quicker. But Not too stressed there. DJ and Tay says, I'd want to keep playbook limited until October 15th. Yeah, exactly. That's a great point. Yeah. So it's like, okay, if you might have to open it up a little against Oregon State, right? Oregon State looks like a good team. We might have to, be a little more like just going for the gold in that one, not just playing conservative to look forward to USC. But October 15th, that's when we play USC, and that's going to be, we're going to really see what we're capable of on both sides of the ball. P. Dodd says, you worried about the red zone issues? Honestly, last night was kind of weird. I think Arizona State was a better team than people were making them out to be. I talked about it during the week. Lanky Boy says, shout out to my man, the myth, the legend, Cam the Man Rising. Yep, Cam the Man, all Pac-12 Rising. Beast. I definitely, speaking of Cam Rising, I'm loving how he's looking, dude. Like, seriously, that was a game where we only really needed to throw in the first half, and he threw for 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. And we all know that pick. I think Solomon Enos needs to be looked at, dude. I am serious. I am sorry that I come off like such a hater for Solomon Enos, but seriously, it's not okay to just drop a wide open pass and then get it intercepted. Not to mention he dropped another pass. I mean, that's not excusing Bailey for that little slant route he caught and then he got hit and he fumbled it. I mean, I I think the receivers, I mean, how bad of an idea would it be? How much would it hurt for you to replace one of those guys with Dixon or Parks if they struggle? Seriously, like I think Dixon and Parks look awesome. And I've been at least with Enos, dude. Especially after last night, he had some plays, but he also had some really bad plays that negate the good he did. Capisi says, other than who we have seen, anyone going to step up in the wide receiver room? I think we're seeing Jalen Dixon and Money Parks growing into their roles, dude. I really believe as we get more towards midseason, those guys will play a bigger role in the offense. Like you look at these two, think about how often they make a play once it happens. If kickoff coverage doesn't fall apart twice, ASU doesn't score. Yeah, I honestly and think about it. If Redding, dude, he was making some clutch tackles, our kicker Redding, and if he didn't, those were probably touchdowns straight up. I was a little concerned about that. I think that kind of stems from a larger issue that I thought, even though we looked way better than them, we looked a little unorganized last night, especially on offense and the kickoff teams. I'll touch on those more in a second, but let's continue just kind of going through the Pac-12 here. All right, so the next team is Utah. Obviously, we're a good squad. Cal, they gave Notre Dame a run for their money, and they just beat who'd they beat? Arizona by 18 points, and Arizona beat SDSU by 18 points, which SDSU doesn't look great, but I'm just saying you look at that and consider that Cal's one of the lower teams in the conference. I mean, it really feels like this year in the Pac-12, there's not a lot of gimmies, right? It felt like last year there were some gimmies. There was some like, oh yeah, we'll beat them. Like, yeah, they'll put up a fight, but we'll beat them. Oregon looks pretty damn good, dude. So the embarrassing loss to Georgia to start it off, then beating BYU, who looked pretty good, a huge win over Eastern Washington, and a shootout yesterday with Washington State, who also looks pretty damn good. And they were able to come away with the win there. So definitely Oregon's probably right up there for me. I mean, I think there's a clear top 4, and we'll talk about that. I'd actually say once you look at Oregon State, dude, so Oregon State, they beat Boise State handily. They beat Oregon State. They beat Montana State handily. And then they barely lost to USC. I feel like there's actually a clear top 5 in the Pac-12. And that's kind of scary, huh? There's like a good 5 teams. That's why I'm saying I could see a team losing 2 conference games and getting to the championship. Camden says, I can't believe Oregon won that game yesterday. Yeah, that was pretty shocking. But they honestly, Oregon looked pretty good at times. Washington State looked really good too. I mean, you think about it. I'm talking about a clear top 5. You count Washington State in there, there's a clear top 6. I'd say Washington State and Oregon State are like barely in the top 6, but still they look really good. Wazoo coughed that game. As much as I want to give Oregon props, they fell into a victory. Yeah, I mean you gotta earn it though, right? It's like, yeah, they Washington State made some mistakes at the end, but if Oregon doesn't capitalize on the mistakes, then they don't win. Utah, USC, Oregon, Washington, Oregon State, and then add Washington State in there, DJ and Tay. I think Washington State looks pretty damn good. I mean, would you say you feel like they just put up 41 points against Oregon? Oregon's got a pretty decent defense. And so I wouldn't say any of those games sound like a cakewalk. Like this conference play, like, yeah, we got the easy one out of the way, but damn, the rest of the schedule looks it's gonna be a fun year, dude. I'm pretty excited. And if you guys haven't already, please do make sure you guys like the video. It helps get it out to more Utes fans and helps grow the channel. And comment in the chat. I'm also gonna drop the link to the video if you guys want to hop on video. You absolutely don't have to hop on video. Feel free to continue commenting in the chat if that's how you want to discuss it. But if you are interested in hopping on the video, I'd love to have you on. And then the next team let's look at is Stanford. Now, Stanford doesn't look great. Let's be real about that. But I mean, Washington didn't beat them as bad as they beat Michigan State. I mean, I feel like Stanford were last year, they were kind of a joke. This year they seem like there are no teams that you are going. I feel like we just beat probably, I know it sounds weird, the second or third worst team in the Pac-12. So we kind of got lucky to start with how easy it starts. So hopefully we use that momentum to get into conference play and look really good there. Stanford doesn't look bad, doesn't look great either. Washington looks pretty damn good. I think they're 4-0, right? 4-0 with a win against, at the time, Michigan State was the number 11 team. They beat Kent State worse than Georgia did. I think that's who Georgia played, was Kent State. So Washington looks like a really good team. And then finally, all right, Washington State. Look at that, guys. So Washington State's only loss is to Oregon, and they have a win over Wisconsin. I mean, they look like a pretty damn good team. I would feel pretty confident that we're going to beat them when we play them, but they still look like a good team. And their quarterback, Cameron Ward, looks like he's starting to come into his own a little bit. Capisi says Utah only has Colorado and Zona as easy games. The rest of I don't think there are any real easy games. And I would say Colorado to me seems like the only like given win. Arizona definitely in that next tier after the, you got like the 8 ones, and then yeah, you're probably right. Arizona would be an easy game, but even Cal, I mean, who knows what they're going to be? They've had some decent performances recently, so I wouldn't just count them out. What happened to Stanford? They were a top Pac-10, Pac-12 team for so many years. Yeah, it's weird. I feel like they honestly need a coaching change. Like maybe whatever David Shaw's doing just doesn't work anymore, and he's just holding on to it and hoping for the best. Oh, that's so funny. You guys asked the same question. Camden says Stanford at home isn't too concerning. No, I agree. Stanford at home is not too concerning, but I would say it's not like you're going to, I mean, they only lost by 2 touchdowns to USC. I mean, they kept that game reasonably close. I wouldn't think like there's no game you're going into and you're like, oh, it's like when we played Arizona last year, even though that game was stressfully close, you thought we were going to run through Arizona. All right, now let's get back to the actual Utah-Arizona game. I just wanted to take a little sidebar there to talk about how good the Pac-12 is looking this year. And if you guys didn't see, I posted the link to the stream in the chat if anyone has any interest in hopping on. You definitely don't have to, though. Feel free to just comment in the chat. Okay, so a couple guys, I thought RJ Hubert looked really good, had that forced fumble yesterday. Karine Reed is really starting to look good, right? Like I voiced my concerns about the linebackers coming into this year, but Karine Reed is really starting to come into his own. Let's see as we get into games against better competition how he looks, right? I would love to see him continue to do that as we play better teams. But either way, I think Karine Reed's starting to prove himself to be one of the best players in this team, or at least one of the better players in this team. Van Fillinger looked pretty good last night. Where's my guy, dude? There's one guy I really want to give a shout out to. Oh, yeah, Gabe Reed. So Gabe Reed graded out super well for PFF to start the season. And then last night, he looked awesome. 3 tackles, 1 assisted tackle, 2 sacks, bro. I like and sacks were not like, I don't know. I guess sacks were kind of easy to come by last night, but I didn't feel like they were just. I felt like it was more our talent that looked really good. Capici says Cole Bishop game ball. Yeah, Cole Bishop, bro. That targeting penalty, I thought I was so pissed when I saw that flag. I was like, yo, sure, he hit him hard. I don't know what else these guys are supposed to do. If you go low on a quarterback when you sack them, you get a penalty. And then if you go high and you hit his helmet, you get a penalty. And it's like, it's not like he led with the crown of his helmet. He led with his face mask. I was so annoyed when I saw that flag, and I'm really happy they overturned that. I feel like Cole Bishop's style of player is becoming frowned upon in college, even though it's not in the NFL. I don't know if you guys know this, like if you guys follow the NFL, they don't have targeting penalties in the NFL. The NFL has like defenseless receiver penalties, but it's not the same as targeting. Like targeting is a college football thing. Lanky Boy says Cole Bishop is a baller. Dude, he is such a baller, dude. Cole Bishop is one of my favorite players in this team. He's got like that's when I played DB, I was nowhere near Cole Bishop's talent level, but that's what I loved about being a DB is you would get these open shots on people sometimes where you could just crack them. And that's what he does. And I really just love the way he plays. DJ and Tay says, I know you tweeted about it, but Glover isn't quite there, but the reps are going to help him. Yeah. So this is talking about Glover. So yeah, I agree. Glover, like this is, yeah, you said I tweeted about it and I did. So Glover looks good. You could feel it, right? And I love seeing him get some reps in, start to come into his own a little bit. Like he just looks like he's not quite there, but he's getting there, right? Like, I mean, for a guy that young to be averaging, I mean, the average isn't crazy, 3.7, but I mean, it's better than what Bernard was averaging. And the other factor there is there was no one like big play, right? There was no one big play for Glover that bumps up that average. Where for Tavion, when you look at his average, which was significantly better than Jalen Glover's at 5.5 yards a carry, there was that one like 25, 30-yard run that he had that boosts up that average big time, which is a talented thing to be able to make that play. I just want, take that into account. Cam just said, did you see Barstool Sports posted Cole Bishop sack? I did see that. They said the alarm clock is waking you up at 6 a.m. on Monday, and they showed Cole Bishop just, dude, that was such a nice hit. Just face mask in the side of your helmet. Boom, bro. Emory Jones felt like you could just feel it. Let's actually look at how he finished at the end of the day. 21 for 36, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. So I was a little off with my prediction saying he would get less than 175 passing yards. But I also think, I mean, how much of those yards were pretty garbage time? Seriously, like it was like we were backing off. We were still blitzing. We were trying to, throw them off, but we were giving them cushion that was like, all right, we just don't want to get beat over the top. So I would take that with a grain of salt. What I was surprised about, I thought this team would run a little better against us. Look at this. Emory Jones, 11 carries for 26 yards. Jeez, bro. It's a rough go, dude. Receiving, Elijah Badger had a good game. I talked about him in the pregame that he'd be important. This guy right here, he was number 20, the number 20 Sanders with the tattooed with the sleeves on his arms. He kind of impressed me a little. I felt like he made some clutch plays for ASU every now and then. But either way, I mean, we beat him pretty handily. I don't think the stats really tell too much of the story. But our average rushing yards per game, like rushing yards allowed for our defense per game, we're about to shoot up that list, dude. We allowed 32 yards, and then you minus the 26. I'm not sure if they count that or not, but that net yardage allowed last game for rushing would have been 6 yards. So pretty wild there. And as you guys come into the video, please do make sure you guys like the video. It goes a long way in helping the channel grow. So make sure you like the video. Also, I'll post the link again if anyone does want to hop on and talk about some Utes football. Just make sure you have a good internet, and more than happy to talk to you. But also, if you don't want to, I know not everyone wants to hop on the video. Just join in with the chat in the chat room. We're having a lot of fun here. I love when you guys are interacting a lot, makes this a lot more fun. And if you haven't already, guys, subscribe to the channel. I don't know what you guys are doing. If you're a Utes fan and you haven't subscribed to the channel, I don't know what else to tell you. All right. But anyway, so let's look at some of the numbers they had here. Well, actually, I would like to go back to our defense. So looking at the defense, Peppa, nothing really from him. Sione Vaki, he's number 28, right? I just want to make sure. Right. Is he number? Yeah, so he actually had a really nice open field tackle that I saw that I was pretty impressed with. I thought he did a great job there. Kyle says Bishop reminds me of Brian Bletchin. I don't know who Brian Bletchin is. Maybe I'm ignorant, but not familiar with who that is. Capisi says Glover caught a few seams, but gets a little too excited at the second level. Yeah, I do think I know what you're talking about there, where it's like he starts getting a little too jitterbuggy when he like starts to get there. And I'm hoping that'll just kind of come in time, right? I think the great thing with Glover is we have a long time to get the ball rolling. Hopefully he can be, maybe a number one back next year. But either way, it's like, let's let him grow. Let's let him grow into his role and become his own man and his own running back as time goes on. Lanky Boy says, so Jackson, I really didn't know it was a permanent change for him for running back. We should utilize him in the passing game too. Yeah, I think he'll be definitely like a versatile tool. And Whittingham was talking about it this morning. I guess Jackson played running back in 8th and 9th grade. And he's obviously a super athlete, so it should transition really well. Connor Earl says Arizona State's QB must hate playing Utah. Yeah, damn, dude. That was a rough night for that guy. Like at least he got the 260 passing yards, which is the most he's gotten in a game, but it was like he would get a 20-yard pass and then get sacked for 5 yards and throw an interception or throw a terrible pass. I mean, he got hit a lot last night. Capisi Jones got garbage yards and Utah was baiting him to throw. Yeah, exactly. It was garbage time yards. DJ and Tay says on the targeting call, Bill Riley in Utah radio was convinced it was targeting until it wasn't, saying they can call it now on hard hits to helmet, even if you don't lower your helmet. So the rule, DJ and Tay, so how it works is you don't have to hit with the crown of your helmet, but if you raise, like if you lift, like if you hit and you lift, like you're trying to light them up, for lack of a better term. That's what I believe that's what they were referring to, which is still garbage, in my opinion. Capisi says Bill Riley hasn't watched enough football outside of Utah. The rule change on targeting has been overturned a couple of times this season. Oregon versus Georgia, for example, had one. Yeah, and I mean, I just don't like how, more than anything, guys, my number one complaint, like targeting's a rule, I get it. It feels like what they do is they default to throwing the targeting flag anytime there's a big hit. Anytime it happens, they throw it just in case, and then they go review it. I'm like 90% sure that is the game plan when a big hit happens. Dr. Rob Cashel is like the video. My guy Joe makes the best use content. Hey, thanks, Dr. Rob. Always good to have you here, man. Thank you very much. Tom Moya says hi. Hi, Tom. Good to have you in. Rob says D-line finally looked like they should. Yes, great job bringing that up, Dr. Rob. I really felt like this was a awesome game for that D-line. Like Van Fillinger had a really good game. Let's look at just the D linemen. How many sacks were there? So Gabe Reed's a D lineman. He's I think he's listed as an edge rusher. He's like a 4-3 defensive end / edge rusher. So 2 sacks from him. Van Fillinger with the sack. Lander Barton plays a little more linebacker, but he's actually listed as an edge. So a sack from him there. And Cole Bishop with a sack. So 5 sacks, 3 of them from defensive linemen. And then Lander Barton, who kind of plays a little bit of a hybrid D-line linebacker role. So 4 total, if you want to count him. I think you're talking about Brian, Kyle. Yep. Ludwig will get creative if Keithy goes out. Yeah, I think we're going to have to get creative. And it sounds like Keithy is out. It's Keithy's probably out for a while. So we should probably start a game plan that he won't be here the rest of the season. I know that sucks. I know that sucks. Capisi says, don't know Brian Bletchin, the man, the myth, the legend. He wrecked at that hybrid safety linebacker position. Well, I guess I'm going to have to look up Brian Bletchen. I will make that my commitment to you guys that I check him out, and I'll tell you my thoughts on him next week. Lanky Boy says, I'm loving these streams more and more. Best content maker out there. Oh, thank you so much, man. That means a lot. And if you guys really do like it, make sure you guys like the video. That's awesome, man. I appreciate the kind words. Lanky Boy says Gabe Reed balled out. I think he had 2 sacks. Yep, Gabe Reed had 2 sacks. And I felt like he definitely had a couple hurries in there as well. And if you guys want, I actually would love to take a minute and look up some PFF grades. I know a lot of you guys that follow this channel are, football nerds like me. So let's do it. I'm sure you guys want to do that as well. All right, so taking a look at the player grades. So I'm going to put them up on the screen here. Okay. Let's see how everyone kind of graded out last night. And what's cool about PFF, like that drop pass from what's his name? That Enos dropped and that Cam threw. I'm guessing when they look at that, they don't count that as Cam's fault. They count that as Enos's fault, which should be. I mean, that's how coaches would look at that. Like when I played football, dude, the rule when you're a receiver, and this obviously can't be 100%, but 85% of the time, and Enos's pass or drop pass definitely counts in this category for me. If it hits you in both hands, if you can get 2 hands on it, you are supposed to catch it, especially if it's in front of you. Like, I would imagine Enos is going to be doing some push-ups and some gassers after that one, dude. All right, so Cam Rising PFF grade looks fantastic. Grading out as number 47 QB in the country. Looking really good, passing grade, very good run grade. Obviously, I mean, I think Cam is really starting to come into his own. And one thing about Cam that really impressed me is how much he connected with the wide receivers. It felt like that was kind of an underlying theme of the game that was like, oh, damn, Cam is hitting his wide receivers. He looks comfortable going to the outside. And it really felt like he just loosened up. And I hope that carries over into next week. Capisi says Bernard underrated from last night. Fumble recovery, made a few key plays. He just isn't 100% yet. Oh, bro, if you follow me on Twitter, I'm the biggest Mekhi Bernard fan there is. I think Bernard's a beast. Like, yeah, like when he recovered that fumble, I was like, yo, the most reliable guy there is. He is awesome. I think he's a guy that you want him involved as much as you can. Like, and don't forget about that little pass he caught where he gets wrecked right after he catches it and he doesn't drop the ball. That's who he is, dude. He's like just a beast. You gotta love Mekhi Bernard. Capisi says if it hits wide receiver in the hands, catch it, testify. Yep, that's what I'm all about, dude. Maybe I'm old school with that though, but I don't see how that's a controversial topic. All right, so check it out here. So Devon Bailey, I believe that grade actually moved up a little bit. I think he was listed at a 62. I know that last week Solomon Enos was listed at a 57. So for that game to drop him 5 points, he must have had a pretty terrible grade. And it sounds like PFF agrees with me that he did not do super well. Jalen Dixon looking pretty damn solid. I think the grade went down a little bit, but really good either way. Luca Calderella, I don't think he got in last week. I think that's from the ASU game. But definitely a guy that could be a good player, and hopefully he gets more reps as we move forward. Money Parks looking pretty damn good as well. Honestly, I really hope we get those guys some more reps in there. And then let's go to running backs. I'm guessing Tavion Thomas actually graded pretty well last week when he was in. And I really hope whatever happened that he learned his lesson. I mean, I would hate to see us lose games because he can't follow whatever the rules the team has. And the truth is, as much as it sucks that Whittingham has to do that, that's part of the game, dude. You can't let someone be above the rules, no matter how talented they are. So that's my opinion on that. All right, so Tavion Thomas, pretty good grade this week. Looks like about average to what he usually does. Same with Mekhi Bernard. I thought Mekhi really just made some clutch plays. Jalen Glover grading out pretty well. The grade did go down, though. I know it was a little higher, but I don't think it said he did poorly. He wasn't like a playmaker this past week, and I'm sure that played a factor in why his grade went down. All right. And now tight ends. So tight end, Brent Keithy, still grading out really well. But I don't know. Don Kincaid's starting to grade out pretty damn well. Keithy also, when you look at that grade, don't forget that teams are probably spotlighting him. And I think Kincaid's going to have to deal with that pressure as we move forward because, oh, you know what? Actually, before we move forward, why don't we look at some of the other guys? Dude, Logan Kendall, dog, such a beast blocker. Bro, that guy beefed up. Do you guys see him on the sidelines? He is looking thick, dude. They must have him on a meal plan, a double meal plan, bro. Because he is looking thick. He's like an extra offensive lineman out there. He is awesome. Yasmin grading out very well. Receiving grade at 82.4. I'm sure that huge catch helped. Like they must have given him a couple extra points after that one. All right, and then let's check out the next position here. So centers. All right, let's go to Utah. I'm going to imagine our team graded out pretty well. I didn't think the blocking looked perfect as far as I watched, but in general, it looked pretty good. Oh, yeah, so check this out. So Paul Miley had a good pass blocking grade all year, but kind of a low run block grade, and it looks like that did go up a little bit. So that's really good to see because as a team that really wants to run the ball, you got to love that. All right, so now let's check out the guards. All right. Boom. So guard play. This is an area we struggled a little bit over the first few weeks. So Keaton Bills is really starting to come into his own. Not sure how he has a 90 receiving grade. Pass block grade, very good. Run block grade, decent. So you like to see that. Michael Mokofisi definitely struggling though. So Tanoa Togiai is looking very, very good in the pass block and in the run game. I wouldn't be shocked to see him start to rotate out with Michael Mokofisi as time goes on. All right, and then let's check out how our tackles are doing. Oh, our tackles are doing because I know they had some ups and downs and their grades had risen and fallen, but they've also played some decent pass rushers. The number one I'm interested in is how Braden Daniels is doing. He's pretty awesome. All right, so Braden Daniels 80.2 pass block grade and a 62.7 run block grade. So Lomea is also getting there. He had some real bad grades in previous weeks with a 52.8 pass block, but that's over the whole season. So I'm guessing he did pretty well last week. And then, an above average run block grade in 67.6. So serviceable there. I mean, don't forget he also played guard. I'm sure it's a transition. The reason he's there is probably because he's one of our two best offensive linemen. That's usually the guys you want to put a tackler, at least your two most athletic offensive linemen. Clark Phillips, damn, that grade took a jump, dude. I think he was a 70 last week. So for him to go from a 70 all the way up to a 76.5, I mean, that interception he had was banging, dude. That was a nice pick. And had it not been for the face mask, that might have been a pick six. So, boom, looking good there. What I don't love is outside of him, the corner play is really not there. What I do love, though, is there's a lot of names here with a lot of experience, right? Hopefully, one of these guys, and you can tell they're giving different guys reps because they know corner 2 and corner 3 aren't fantastic. They're not straight liabilities, but they're borderline, right? You gotta worry about it a little bit. And so I'm not surprised to see them giving a lot of guys reps to see if somebody can step up to the plate and show that they're ready to start at corner. Now, safety. I'm really hoping Cole Bishop took a big jump at safety. I can't imagine how he didn't. He had an interception. He had that big sack. Oh, both guys took a huge jump, dude. Just so you guys know, I'm pretty sure both these guys were in the low 50s last week, if I'm correct. So for both of them to go up that much, I mean, oh, damn. Damn, look at that pass rush grade from Cole Bishop, 92.4. Still, you'd like a better coverage grade, but that's kind of what you get with him. It's kind of like both of these guys have one serious flaw and one serious strength. So yeah, Cole Bishop and a pretty good run defense grade. RJ Hubert, run defense, still really struggling. I don't like to see that. That's not good. But the coverage grade at 82.3, that's in that elite conversation. So it makes sense why he's getting a lot of play out there. Capisi says Hubert had a game for sure. Yeah, he really did. I thought he definitely made up for some of the mistakes he had made in previous weeks, and he didn't look like a liability in the run game, but the grade is still bad. You do want to see that go up. All right, so now let's take a look at linebackers. I'm guessing Karine Reed is starting to come into his own a little with this grade. All right, boom. Yep, called it. All right, 82.9. Damn, 85 coverage grade, dude. That's because this guy looks like a box safety playing linebacker. Look at these grades, man. No weakness. Like above average run defense, very good pass rush, and elite coverage grade. Then you got Barton out here with a 68.8. Same type of guy, no weakness, average pass rush, above average coverage, and above average run defense. Barton really feels like he's coming into his own as well. You get worried when a freshman is going to be a starter, and that's the plan. But he looks big. He does not look overwhelmed. I mean, there's a time or two in every game where you see him, maybe not look as fluid as you want, but that'll come in time. And I'm really excited to see how well he's doing. Can we give my boy Hayden Fury some more reps? I mean, I don't know what else to say about that. I talk about it every week, basically. So I'd really like to see him get in more. I saw Justin Medlock get in last night. Not surprised to see that coverage grade go down. He's one of the guys that led up one of those passing touchdowns to ASU. And then Mahmoud Diabate. Honestly, guys, I'm starting to feel like Mahmoud might not have a spot, even if he's healthy. He might not have that spot. And not that I cherish that, but I did talk about it that he might not be the monster playmaker everyone's making him out to be. I hope he is, but might not be the case. All right, Junior Tafuna's grades starting to get back up there. He had some rough grades early on. This whole defensive line had some rough grades early on, and it's nice to see those grades coming back up. Junior Tafuna 65.5, average grade there, but pretty, average across the board, maybe slightly below average in coverage and pass rush, but those were really bad early. So that means they're going up. Vimahi, you need to get that up, dude. That's not good enough. Peppa looking like he's got some really good grades still. Keanu Tanuvasa, I don't think he got in yesterday that I saw. So hopefully we can get a good rotation of these four, and see who can kind of, let them know their starting spots aren't guaranteed, right? Don't pull them, right? Because they're still really good players, but rotate them in and out. Like if you're not going to be a playmaker, even if you have the capability of it, let's put a fire under you. Let's make you a playmaker, right? All right, so Pac-12. All right, Utah. Gabe Reed, dog, another week with a really good grade. I mean, these are both very good run defense and pass rush. I love it, dude. I love the way he's looking. I talked about him when we picked him up when he transferred over here, and he very solid grades. Let's go ahead and actually look at that. He was like a good player for Stanford. He wasn't like, you look at these grades, right? Last year is a 73.5, never a bad player. And last year actually looked pretty damn good on a terrible team. So, I mean, you got to be happy about what you're seeing from Gabe Reed. And I actually think he's about to solidify himself as one of our edge rushers. I don't think he's going to be a rotate in and out guy after last night. That's my prediction, though. Jonah L. But I don't know, bro. This edge room looks really good. Van Fillinger, Miki Sukataraga. And just so you guys know, Van Fillinger had some really low PFF grades early on. That's kind of why this is happening. Jonah Ellis is a beast. Connor O'Toole is getting play. He made a really nice tackle on Emory Jones last night when Emory Jones tried to cut back. Just a great group, dude. Damn, they're all getting that. Look at that. You take out the snap minimum. All these guys are getting a lot of snaps at edge. So it's kind of that. But all right, I'm gonna make a few closing thoughts. If you guys haven't already, please do make sure you guys like the video and comment in the chat if you guys have any other questions you want me to answer before we get out of here. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. But just a couple thoughts last night. I thought our defense looked fantastic yesterday. I thought there was like small concerns. I thought during garbage time, it felt like we weren't exactly just giving them the plays, right? Like, and I'm kind of confused on how exactly I can phrase this, but it was like we were blitzing and we were backed off, but it wasn't like we were letting them get those yards purposely, which is what you'll do sometimes in garbage time to make them run the clock. It was more like they were just making some good plays, which that's pretty nitpicky, right? I felt like our defense looked really, really good with just small concerns. Like, hey, I didn't like at times how easily they threw the ball, but I think our defense looks scary, dude. If I'm any team in the Pac-12, I'm worried. I'm like, damn, can we move the ball at all against these guys? Offense, lots of playmaking, solid job running the ball. I think we had like 200 rushing yards. The concern for me with the offense was just the sloppiness and the unorganized nature of everything at times. Like, this was not a loud crowd. This was not like a packed house. It was a very empty arena, and we were getting a decent amount of penalties. There was times where it just felt like when we were lining up, we were kind of sluggish. I mean, Tavion with the attitude problems, you gotta raise a yellow flag there and hope that figures itself out. Special teams, I didn't love the kick coverage. I didn't love that, we had to rely on our kicker to make clutch tackles against a team like Arizona State. Because that, bro, I could tell you, USC's returner, I don't know his name. I don't even know who he is. I don't know what number he is, but I'm guessing he's a lot better than the Arizona State returner. And I'm guessing a team like Oregon State, who we're playing next week, if we come in there sloppy and we look disheveled, they're going to take advantage of it. They're going to lay the wood. They're not going to let us beat them by being unorganized and undisciplined. So, and to be fair, this is one of my favorite things about Utah. I think Kyle Whittingham he's like the similar brand of football that I like, right? It's just old school, figured out, and, be disciplined. Lanky Boy says the only thing I will say is we need to lower our penalties. Yep, definitely need to lower the penalties, but I think the penalties came from being unorganized and kind of not being ready. I think we had a lot of younger guys in, but still, either way. But outside of that, guys, that was an awesome win last night. Such a fun game. I really love doing these live streams. And I'm excited to do it again with you guys next week. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. We'll do the breakdown for the Oregon State game this week. This will be our first real test outside of Florida of the season. And, it's one of the better teams in the Pac-12. So I'm really excited to make that breakdown, and I'm sure you guys are excited to watch it. Outside of that, I am out of here. I wish you guys the best. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy this beautiful fall weather we've got outside, and have a great one. Bye, guys.